Hello and a very warm welcome to Game On. If you've grown up watching or hearing about some of the legends from both India and West Indies cricket, big names like Sunny Gavaskar, Sir Garfield Sobers, the most feared pace quartet of Andy Roberts, Michael Holding, Colin Crofton, Garner. There's also Vivian Richards, Brian Lara, Rahul Dravid, Anil Kumble. All these names have left us some brilliant memories when they've competed against each other. And today is a huge moment to celebrate as India take on the West Indies in their 100th test at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad. The relationship that started in 1948 is 100 tests old. But so much has changed since the beginning to now. The tables have turned. West Indies are a pale shadow of what they were once. And India have not lost to West Indies in the last 21 years. So as we look ahead to the second test, we do hope that West Indies find a way to put up a fight. They are likely to get better conditions, or will they? That's another question. But let's get to see a good match. Jamie Alter will join us on the show. He's on the show. There is Chetan Narula who joins us on the show. Two gentlemen who watched a lot of India-West Indies cricket. I can tell you they have watched the 2002 win in Port of Spain at the same venue, right? That 37-run humdinger. I'm sure they remember that. But we'll talk to both of them. Though, Jamie and Chetan, what are you expecting from this one? Another 3-day finish, or are you expecting a fight?
Chetan?
Thanks, Meha. Yeah, I think if it's a bare pitch, which is, I think, the news that's starting to come out, that it's not really a green top that everybody was expecting, and as you had mentioned, West Indies have another spin all-rounder in their squad. So it's going to be another bare pitch, another pitch which is probably going to take turn from second and third day onwards. And yes, a 3-day finish, depending on how India bats. Obviously, depending on how India bowl. No disrespect to the West Indies, but this is not really a match at the test level.
Is that the new Team India jersey that I'm spotting?
It is. It is. In fact,
how much did you have to shell out for this? I believe this is hugely expensive.
It is, and I got it before. So it's a clean one without the sponsor name on it, apart from the jersey sponsor. So that's why I got it, because it's it's limited edition, and just before the ones that they are wearing in this India-West Indies series that comes on sale. So
what a show off! What an
I am a jersey collector.
Show off.
I'm a jersey collector. Always collecting.
He is.
I have like
he's got like 20 couple too from overseas stores.
Yeah, I have like 25 India jerseys and some others from all across the world as well. So I had to get this one. I was always looking out for a good test jersey. So I like Adidas.
Are you going to give us a figure? How much did you shell out for this?
$5,000.
If you are fans and if you can afford it, go ahead, buy this jersey just for 5,000 only. But coming back, Jamie, the pitch, what's going on? I mean, the first glance at the pitch, I saw one video on social media, and that's just similar to what we saw in the first test. Or that could be a pitch anywhere here in India. Actually, Indian pitches would have more grass on it.
Yeah, there's one man who we all know who's supplying the most video content from the West Indies.
Yeah.
And if you look at his videos, not too dissimilar from what we saw, I think the days of green tracks in the West Indies are long gone. I don't know the reason of it, but look, if you look at traditionally, this venue, well, not traditionally, I think the last 15, 18 years, spin has had a big say here. And when it's Ashwin and Jadeja, I mean, Ashwin's taken a lot of wickets here. So I think we can expect, like Chetan said, another 3-day finish, just purely based on the visuals. And of course, the kind of effort that West Indies put up in that first test match, clearly I had really overestimated them and their pace arsenal. But if they're rolling out tracks like this, which are going to really work into India's favor from, I know Chetan said day 2, but even day 1, we saw a bit of puffs of dust last time around. So whether India bat first or bowl first, it's not going to make a difference. I don't think this match will probably go beyond lunch on day 4.
Okay, so let's set this game up for you. After wrapping up victory inside 3 days at Rosso, Rohit Sharma's team, they will again fancy a win. well before the 5th day at Port of Spain, given how the conditions are once more expected to be dry, as we've been saying. So, led by Ravichandran Ashwin, 12 wickets is what he got in the last match, and it was a fine debut then of Yashasvi Jaiswal. A test 100 from the 21-year-old. India completely annihilated West Indies before the close of play on day 3. And given how abject that home team was in that first test, it's difficult to see how Craig Brathwaite and his team can bounce back at Port of Spain. Now, while Indian cricket team down the years have only managed to win 3 of their 13 test matches at the Queen's Park Oval, this venue is a special one because this has been the scene of some of India's most famous overseas wins. That's right. Such as in 1971, in 76, 2002 that we were referring to when I introduced Jimmy and Chetan on the show. The last time India played here was in 2016 when the 4th test was drawn to give Virat Kohli's team the series 2-0. And it was after that match that Ashwin was declared player of the series for 17 wickets and 253 runs. So 7 years later, after his dominating performance in Dominica, it is Ashwin who looms as West Indies' biggest tormentor this time around too. But what about Virat Kohli, who everyone has their eyes on, given that this test will mark former India captain's 500th international match? So then, will Kohli, a man for the occasion, make this landmark test a memorable one? Will Ashwin again spin a web around West Indies? How many days will this match even last? All these questions are what we're going to talk about. We'll also talk about whether they're going to be, right at the beginning, Chetan, that a lot will depend on conditions. But now what we are hearing is that conditions are dry. Yes, rain is expected on all 5 days. So keeping all that in mind, what do you think India will look to do? Because we were talking about how maybe they should go in with an extra spinner in Akshar Patel, just wrap things up quickly, drop a seamer. Do you see any changes in the playing 11?
I expect at least one change in the playing 11, Meha. I expect India to bat first if they win the toss and make use of the pitch, put up a big score, use the better batting conditions. I think last time around they didn't get the best batting conditions on day 2. The pitch was really slow. West Indies were delaying the new ball. So they would want to, bat in the best batting conditions available with the threat of rain also looming. In terms of the team, like I said, I expect at least one change. I think I expect them to leave out one of the 3 pacers and bring in maybe Akshar Patel. Personally, like I said yesterday, I would like to see Ruturaj Gaikwad get his test debut and get a go in test cricket. But I don't see that happening really. Such occasions are hotbeds for experimentation for any team really. But the Indian team management has always been reluctant to experiment even in such situations. So just expecting one of the 3 fast bowlers to make way, probably Jaydev Unadkat and Akshar Patel to probably come in. As the graphic displays. So, that's what I'm expecting today.
So that's the other thing, Jamie. Like Chetan was saying, that this is obviously a series where India will look to experiment, especially because of how the first match has gone. If you've beaten a team by an innings and 141 runs inside 3 days, I think you can be sure that whoever you put in will be able to do just the same in the second test as well, right? So having said that, I mean, one important part of this team is the fast bowling, right? That's also in transition. We're trying to figure out the bench strength. So why is it then that you wouldn't give someone like a Mukesh Kumar a chance? What are you waiting for? When are you going to give him an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, look, like we discussed yesterday, there is a logic, slightly left field, to use Chetan's word. There is logic to bring in a Ruturaj Gaikwad, but you don't need to be that radical or that drastic in your thoughts to even say, why not just rest Mohammad Siraj with the uncertainty around Jasprit Bumrah's return and will he play all 3 formats? Will he go to South Africa? That, to my mind, is too far down the line. So in that scenario, with Mohammad Shami rested, and we can safely assume that if he stays fit, Mohammad Shami will be on the flight to South Africa. in about 5.5 months' time. That still leaves Mohammad Siraj as your best, most successful fast bowler, despite playing, I think, under 20 Test matches. So by all means, be it Navdeep Saini, who's tasted Test cricket, but who's not been able to crack it yet because he's hardly played and he's injury prone. Play a Navdeep Saini, play a Mukesh Kumar. He's 29, not played for India yet. If you see him as part of your cycle for the next 2 years, I'm talking about Mukesh and Navdeep Saini, then play one of them, because Mohammad Siraj really has nothing more to prove, right? He got that first Test match, leader of the pack, did very well. But if the conditions are going to be like we're expecting them to, and again, I'll go back to what I said. If Jaidev Unadkat is bowling 9 overs and Shardul Thakur is bowling 7, do you really need them? You're one up. West Indies are not going to challenge you. May as well, be it Gaikwad, be it Navdeep, be it Mukesh, give them a test of putting on the whites. Go out there, just get a feel, because we all know, Maya, how difficult it's going to be in 6 months' time when there's Rabada, Nokia, Nagidi, and whichever fourth fast bowler those guys produce. And I'm sure they have lots of them lined up. It's just going to be much, much, much tougher. So when this series is being taken so lightly, when the opposition is not doing much, may as well give someone who's not tasted Test cricket yet, or like Chetan would also say, someone like a Navdeep Saini who's been there, but is quicker than a Jaidev Unadkat and Shardul Thakur, and who definitely has a lot more to offer India than Jaidev Unadkat.
Yeah, and also I don't know whether you're actually seeing Jaidev Unadkat as an option, or have you just got him as one series just because we've rested Mohammad Shami? I mean, if that's the case, then you're really not doing this transition process in the right manner. But having said that, now both of you, I know Chetan said that win the toss, bat first. Jamie, would you agree as well?
Yes, because A, the quality of the opposition in West Indies, and B, this match is, like I said, probably not going to go into the forte. If it does, it'll probably be because of some freak situation from one of the West Indies players, or the rain, which you mentioned is reportedly scheduled for some part of each day, right? If you bat first, you probably stand to get a player like Virat Kohli, who needs that 100. Rahane, who we've been discussing his spin game, he needs runs. Probably this time around, you would want to bat. Yes, like Chetan said, the conditions will get harder. But I think if you stack up India's batsmen, rookie, veteran together as against their bowlers, rookie and veteran, you probably have a few more batsmen you hope to get a lot more out of, right? Ashwin, Jadeja, Siraj, Shardul, they've done enough to be around. We don't need to question their skill or judge them. But Gill needs runs. Yes, Gill has 10, 12 years. Gill, to my mind, is a future captain, but his test stats, Maya, they're very, very average. He needs runs. You hope that Jaiswal can translate that 171 into something else. Virat Kohli would give a left arm for 100 right now. So just on that basis, if you do win the toss, I would assume India would want to bat.
Did you just say Virat Kohli will give his left arm for 100, Jamie?
I think so.
Okay, we're asking you as well, our viewers. What do you think? Should India look to bat first if they win the toss? And also, what should be India's playing 11? Do let us know in the comment section below for all of you who are watching. Let's also then talk about what Rahul Dravid, the coach of this Indian team, had to say about this whole transition process on the eve of this second test. We're going to put that quote up, and then I'm going to come to Jamie and Chetan on what they think of it. And he has obviously praised India's domestic structure, and rightfully so. He's praised the NCA. He's saying there have been a lot of young players we've seen even in one-days and T20s who've come through and done really well. Credit to our domestic system, NCA, and a lot of other people who can make that possible for us. It's a tribute to the environment around the team that a lot of young players are able to come in and perform straight away. A lot of credit should go to the domestic system for producing this kind of players, especially in the batting department. The relaxed environment the team here has been able to create to allow young players to come in and express themselves. And I think some of that credit has to be given to India's domestic structure as well as the NCA. But a lot of credit also needs to be given to Yashasvi Jaiswal's hard work and the talent that he has in the way he has performed in the first test, Jamie.
Yes, also I personally would like to add the IPL because it's undeniable the impact that the IPL has had, and we've discussed this, I mean, for many years across platforms.
Yeah.
And it's not just a cliche chance to rub shoulders with greats of the game and all that la di da. It's actually the competitiveness that the IPL brings, especially with these young players, right? Yes, Rahul Dravid comes from the generation where domestic cricket was far more valuable, and let's all face it, far more skill, the higher level of domestic matches of the domestic standard that Rahul Dravid played. So I get where he comes from. Regarding the NCA, yes, during his time, the NCA had really improved. You saw a lot of players actually coming out of there with flying colors as compared to what's happening now. The under 19 system, the India A system, I think we cannot put enough value on the role of the India A setup, especially like we've all been talking about those 5 years of the Virat Kohli, Ravi Shastri dominance. And again, just the IPL. Yes, Yashasvi Jaiswal has done very well at the under 19 level and at the domestic level, but it's one outstanding IPL season that's propelled him. And like Kushan was saying a couple of days ago, it's the kind of a camp or the inner workings that Rajasthan Royals have, that they can send him for a week to somewhere outside of Pune and spend time with Zubin Barucha. That you're not going to get from, I don't think, at least in my experience, you're going to get that from any domestic team. That's very much an IPL initiative. So you have to, for that matter, in regards to someone like Yashasvi Jaiswal, mention the IPL as well, which Rahul Dravid also has been a part of, both as a player as well as a coaching staff. So all these things that he's mentioned, I just want to add the IPL onto that.
Yeah. I wonder, how would Yashasvi Jaiswal be approaching this test match? I mean, he scored 171. It was a fairy tale debut. Everything that he could have asked for. You know, it's like a young kid, what's your one dream? Oh, you know, I want to score 100 on my test debut. I think everybody dreams of it. So you've got that now. What's your next step? So any thoughts on how he might be approaching this second test match, Chetan? Much the same way? अब भी जाके run बनाना है. I am a Mumbai batter. I'm Khadus.
Absolutely. I mean, what's next? Yeah, absolutely. Well, you asked what's next. Test century number 2. That's what he'll be aiming for. And you know, the reaction he gave when he got out for 171, it felt like, oh, he's not satisfied yet after batting almost 2 days. And you know, totally dominating the attack. Look, yes, it's the West Indies attack. It's not very penetrative. It's not the sharpest attack out there. But again, you can only do what is presented in front of you. You know, whatever is given to you, whatever challenge is given to you. And it was his test debut. You know, he could have been a full bag of nerves, but he was very confident the way he walked out to bat every time, not just for the first time, every time. After a session break, after a drinks break, after a day's break, you know, whenever he went out to bat, he was full of confidence. He wanted to bat and bat and bat. The only time I thought he was a little impatient was when the spinners came on and he wanted to take them on, but the pitch and you know, the soft ball were not really conducive to, you know, attacking the spinners. So I think today with a better pitch, especially if India bat first, I think when the spinners come on, he'll go on a bit of an attacking mode. But yes, he's from the Mumbai school of cricket. They just want to bat, and I'm hoping he gets another century. Or I think, like you said, how will he be approaching? He'll be looking to see what he could have done better. There were a couple of shots that, for example, I think towards the end of the first day, he probably didn't know that it was going to be the end because there was a short rain shower. So he played a reverse sweep. So probably he would want to cut out those shots, you know, see off time till the stumps so that he could bat again the next day. So these are small things that perhaps he would want to improve upon. But overall, as you asked, I think he'll be gunning for century number 2.
You know, can I tell you one thing? I don't think he'll avoid that shot. I think that's just, that comes with this generation, that comes with Gen Z. We'll never understand where that fearlessness comes from, but it's just there. And that's exactly what Rahul Dravid has said. Let's put that up. I'll come to Jamie after that. Rahul Dravid was asked about what he thought of Yashasvi Jaiswal, and this is what he had to say. We could put that quote up. And he says exactly the same thing, that, you know, he thinks that was attacking way. I was very pleased to see that he was willing to play an attacking game when required, but also knuckle down and be defensive and work hard for his runs when required. As a coach, nothing pleases you more than that. And I know that Jaiswal and Shubman Gill will face other tougher challenges as they play more and more cricket. teams will start getting to know them better. The challenge for Jaiswal is to respond to the tactics and strategies that West Indies is going to come up with in this game. I think one thing, Jamie, we can be sure of is that these guys will play their attacking cricket. I think the part that is really important with the younger guys is how, as Rahul Dravid said, how you buckle down, how you're able to play in situation when things are tough. You know, that kind of focus, that kind of temperament also has to be there. That's the challenge for the newer guys who are coming in.
Absolutely, and this is why Yashasvi Jaiswal's 171. I think he batted 500 minutes, 380 odd balls. It had far more patience, grit, application. It was very much like a Shivnarayan Chanderpaul innings than it was from a Yashasvi Jaiswal innings, in the sense that he's been dominating attacks in domestic cricket, white ball, red ball in the IPL. So that for me was the most impressive thing. Like I said when we first discussed his 100, he is naturally drawn to playing shots. He would like to dominate, but he realized, I've got here because of a lot of hard work. It's not been easy by any stretch. Let me sort of savor it and buckle down and make the most of it. And let me also show people, that I actually belong here. So he's really had a fantastic debut. But then watching him bat, the mind also wanders to someone like Shubman Gill. Some would say far more talented, has a 2.5, 3-year head start on Jaiswal. But the average is, I think, 34, 35, nowhere near what we expect, right? He also, his start was not as, let's say, not as successful when you look at the immediate returns as Jaiswal, but it came in Australia at the start of a very, very tough series. And that 91 he got on that final day at the Gabba. Yes, Australia's, this has been said, Australia's 3-man pace attack had played all 4 test matches. They were spent. But it's still Australia at the Gabba, where for some 32 years, no one had beaten Australia. So that 91 in many, many ways was far more significant than what Jaiswal has achieved. But it just falls into that category of players who are natural stroke makers, who are fantastic off the back foot, but they need, like Rahul Dravid mentioned, they need to understand when do we shift gears. I think perhaps Shubman Gill has not realized that fully yet, but no doubt Jaiswal, let's hope Shaw gets his chance. But I think Shaw is maybe 3-4 years behind the line now, and I really hope, like Chetan said, that Gaikwad also gets that chance sooner than later, because he's another player. I think he's 25, if I'm not wrong. You could get 8-9 years out of him at this level as well, because he's shown across formats, when you need to buckle down, I will do it, and when you need to score quick runs, I can do it. So India are just blessed to have these 4 or 5 players that we're discussing.
Absolutely, I love that picture of him, tipping his hat. Here's a bouncer for both of you. In the Under-19 World Cup, when Shubman Gill played under Yashasvi Jaiswal, Shubman Gill was the second highest run scorer of the tournament. Who was the highest run scorer in that tournament? He's featuring in this series.
Ruturaj?
Let Chetan go first.
No. It's a West Indian.
I was going to say it's a bouncer, so it has to be a West Indian, no?
Okay.
Okay, let's
probably
check
the West Indies squad, to be honest.
Athanase. I was going to say, because his name, I can never get his name. Athanase.
Yeah.
He's young, isn't he? Maybe him.
It took him slightly longer to make it to the team, but I read it and I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. Okay, let's also then talk about how a team like India right now, in the situation that they are in, keep themselves switched on against an opposition like West Indies. I know it's a decently long tour. They have an ODI series, T20I series. Chetan, knowing that your opposition, I mean, you've really just demolished them in the last match. How do you sort of really get charged up, really want to be serious about it? I know fans sometimes are not serious, right? Everybody looks at it like, yeah, West Indies hai. So for the team, how difficult or easy might that be?
Look, first of all, they'll not be looking forward to the ODIs and T20s just now. I mean, at the end of the day, they are professionals. I mean, they are playing international cricket. They are all professionals playing the sport at the highest level. So they're definitely not thinking about the ODIs and T20s as of now. in terms of how they go ahead and build up towards this test match, again, it's an opportunity to get another win in the West Indies, win the series 2-0, get points on the board for the World Test Championship. And I think that is a motivating factor in itself, because you go ahead and you look at the kind of schedule that India has. They're playing South Africa, England, then New Zealand at home next year, and then they're playing Australia as well away from home. And they have only a small series against Sri Lanka at home before the next World Test Championship final. So compared to the last two, World Test Championships, this one is a little tougher in terms of schedule for the Indian team. So all points at this stage really matter for them. So even if they are thinking, okay, you know what, this is going to be an easy opposition for us, and somewhere in their mind, it will be so. But at the end of the day, they'll be targeting full points to the World Test Championship, and that is what it is all about.
Let's talk about Ravichandran Ashwin as well, Jamie. What he did in the last match, you expecting similar kind of performance from him? Because we know that if the conditions are what we think they would be, it'll be another one of those test matches where, he'll go out and get a 5-wicket haul in the first innings, a 7-wicket in the second innings.
It was like that. Was the first match of the BGT or the second match? Whenever Rohit said in his typical chilled out way, it's very tough because so and so is saying I'm nearing 400, give me the ball. So is saying I'm nearing 250. Akshar is saying I'm nearing 50. This is probably just one of those matches where you don't expect Ashwin to be so vocal, but he might be saying, just give me a lot more overs. I got 12 last time. I could end with 15, 16 this time around. And look, like we said, it's not going to be a green top. We can't really expect West Indies to come back that much harder, not just because of the short turnaround time, but because they don't have the players. I go back to why in the world they haven't picked Roston Chase when he averaged 53 with the bat over the last 12 months. And how many times has Roston Chase, he's troubled England. He's taken 8 wickets against England. He's taken wickets against India. So he's been a handful. So just given how timid West Indies were, and given how, at least on the surface of it, it looks like another similar track as Dominica, Ashwin show once again.
Yeah. Ashwin's 14 wickets away from 500. We just saw what Stuart Broad did today. Incredible. I mean, look at that list, Chetan, and to have just 2 seamers there. Are you seeing anybody from the current lot in the future getting to these milestones in Test cricket?
No, 600 wickets is a lot, isn't it? In
Test cricket
and the
500 wickets.
The likes of,
And to think, Muthaiya Muralitharan has 800.
And Shane Warne probably would have scaled that too, because you missed out a year of Test cricket. So who knows? He would have probably scaled that height as well. These are to say these are magnificent numbers is a bit of an understatement. Especially the longevity, somebody like a James Anderson or a Stuart Broad, the kind of, the persistence they are showing, despite the change in brand for England. In fact, I tweeted yesterday that it's, despite all the talk of their batting being baseball now, it's the English attack which is keeping them alive in this series. Otherwise, Australia would have probably run away, with the series by now, 3-0 or 4-0 up by now. So, all kudos to Stuart Broad. I think he's been the standout bowler. Let's be very honest. I think he's been the standout bowler for England in this series. Every time he's come in and bowled, he's been terrific to watch. And I think he's somebody who likes this whole baseball thing. But yeah, those numbers, they're magnificent. Among the current lot, I think only Ashwin may have a crack at maybe 600 plus. Maybe, and that also depends, how
if he remains fit and
if he plays enough tests. I mean, if he's only playing, 3 or 4 tests a year, then of course it's not going to happen. But
okay. Talking about greats, you guys have cued me to Virat Kohli at 500. The 100th test between India and West Indies will be Virat Kohli's 500th international match. This is the big milestone, another big milestone that Virat Kohli will achieve with this test match. Only 3 Indians and 9 players overall. They made it to this absolutely elite club. The names will tell you how exclusive this is. The head of this club is Sachin Tendulkar, who's played 664 international games. I don't know if there's anybody who can reach that level. Then at number 2 is Mahila Jayawardene, and number 3 is Kumara Sangakkara. And you also realize how absolutely colossal these two guys were for Sri Lanka. Then there's Ricky Ponting, the Australian legend. MS Dhoni, Captain Cool, he is there. There is Jacques Kallis, and then there is Virat Kohli. 499, 500 is the magical number for him today. But this is incredible, Jamie. Talking about 500 wickets in tests, 600 wickets, even 500 internationals for a modern cricketer. That is going to be difficult. And look at that then. We talk about greats. These are the absolute greats of the game. Look at the number of runs they've scored. Sachin Tendulkar, no one can match him. Mahila Jayawardene, Sangakkara, 28,000. There is Sanat Jayasuriya in there, Ricky Ponting, and MS Dhoni. So yeah, just talking about that. This is a huge achievement, a huge landmark. And I know that we're talking about Virat Kohli at a time when the current numbers are nowhere close to what we're seeing here, or at least are not being able to depict how great he's been in the game. But having said that, it's still a huge moment for him as a player.
Absolutely. And look at just these names, right? A lot of these names are players Virat Kohli would have watched. He's played with, I think, most of them, as well. It just says that we are so fortunate, yes, every second day, the two people on the screen now are saying this about so-and-so and all, but that just comes with the territory. We're actually blessed to be in an era where we can watch a Virat Kohli get to 500 international matches, And frankly, I don't think I'm being pessimistic. I think I'm being fairly realistic in saying this, that you're not going to get players ever doing this. Ashwin and Lyon, I said this a few weeks ago, Ashwin and Lyon, to my mind, are the last bowlers who are going to get to the landmark of 500 test wickets, because I don't see any player, either in their second or third year, I'll stretch it to 4 years of test cricket, who has a good decade ahead of them, getting to these landmarks. Because just look at the stories coming through today from South Africa, right? Because of scheduling, the CSA T20 league gets them more money. Players are going to be putting that again. So that's just one league, right? We've seen 3 T20 leagues pop up this year. How many big names are playing in Major League Cricket? So it's just, I'm not saying it's wrong or right, but the distractions, the lure of money, getting paid more for playing less, it's going to get to such a level where players want to be like, you know what? I don't have it in me to put my body through 5 days of Test cricket. So let's savor the Joe Roots, the Virat Kohli, the Smith, all these players. I mean, because had Virat Kohli been 6 years younger, he would not have gotten there. And I remember his first India international match, his first match. It was, I think, 4 or 5 months after his team won that Under-19 World Cup. I was there in Sri Lanka, and he was 19 then, And you got a sense, like just the way we're talking about Jaiswal and Gill and Shaw now, you actually, because of what you'd heard and seen, watching him bat in the flesh, he didn't do a whole lot. But you got a sense, yaar, ye ladka 12-15 saal khel sakta hai. And he's gone and done that. And I thought, like Chetan said yesterday, and he said before as well, his legacy will be that fitness and inspiring those around him to become the fittest Indian team. We're not going to see anyone else get to 500 international matches. Let's accept it.
Okay, Rahul Dravid, Coach Dravid has spoken about Virat Kohli reaching 500, milestone 500. Let's put that quote up before I come to Chetan and talk about how lucky we were to not just watch Virat Kohli but Sachin Tendulkar at his prime. And how you realize now, with the kind of slump that we saw with Virat Kohli, how special was Sachin Tendulkar. But let's first put that quote up. Rahul Dravid, he's talking about Virat Kohli. Let's get that quote up. He says, "For me, what has been great to see firsthand is the effort and the willingness and the work he puts in behind the scenes when no one is watching, and that is reflected in the fact that he's been able to play 500 games. He is still going very strong, is very fit, and the energy and enthusiasm he brings to the game, in spite of playing 500 games and being around here for 12 or 13 years now, longevity comes with a lot of hard work, discipline, and adaptability, and he has shown all of that. So long may it continue. Somewhere I'm seeing this, and we also know the personality that is Rahul Dravid. He is, he is the nicest words to say about everybody. But this is special coming from Rahul Dravid. And also, I think the part that stands out for me, and I think for you guys as well, is how he talks about how fit he is. Chetan, you have mentioned this yesterday, how fit he is, how, at some point you think with players that hunger for runs will reduce. So they just don't want to make that much of an effort. Somewhere they'll say, yaar, nahi karna, yaar, nahi ho raha. If there's one player you'd see, and that's why he's a great player, and that's Virat Kohli. Now, runs may come, may not come. Irrespective of that, I feel like the man behind the scenes will give his 100%. That you can never question him on.
Absolutely not. And I think he is somebody who enjoys himself on the field. When he goes onto the field, he wants to enjoy himself. He brings that energy, that passion. I remember speaking to him in 2018, and he said that the day I stopped enjoying myself on the field, the energy that you see all the time, that I'm egging myself on, I'm taking on the opposition players, I'm talking to fans, I'm making them shout and scream and everything. The day I stopped doing that is the day when it is curtains for me. That when that energy, when that passion goes out from me, then I don't know what I'll be able to do or not able to do. And that is probably when I'll know that it's time to hang up my boots. So I think as long as we see Virat Kohli enjoying on the field in whatever way or form. I mean, you look at the IPL recently, there were some bad scenes that happened there, but that's just quintessential Virat Kohli. We may like it, we may not like it. But as long as it's happening, we'll be lucky enough to see him on the field, to perform for India, to score runs the way he does. And, he's made Test cricket into a spectacle, especially when he was captain. All of us tuned into Test cricket. Star Sports made him the headline character of Indian Test cricket, and probably the ascendancy that Test cricket, especially in India, enjoyed during his captaincy was down to him, was down to his infectious energy. And obviously, before the quote there, you asked me about Sachin Tendulkar. We were all very, very lucky to witness him. In fact, the very fact that we are all in this line of work is probably down to Sachin Tendulkar, because he, brought out that passion in us, brought out that love of sport or love of cricket in us. And that is something that we share with Virat Kohli, because his generation of players, or the generation before, or the generation coming after, they will always look up to Sachin Tendulkar. So we probably have that common thread in all of us when it comes to Sachin. And probably that is something which differentiates maybe Sachin and Virat Kohli to an extent. But, it's somebody like a Rahul Dravid who's had a front row seat, to both Sachin and Virat Kohli. I mean, that's just magnificent.
Yeah. Why I say how special Sachin was is because how often have we had these conversations? We're sitting with our friends and we've talked of, who's coming up? Virat Kohli will get close to Sachin or might surpass Sachin Tendulkar. Steve Smith, he could have done it. Alistair Cook, I remember having this conversation with Jamie. But somehow no one's come close. And, right now sitting here, that's the same question I'm asking. Is Virat Kohli going to be able to get to 10,000 test runs? Is that a possibility? Will we see that? I mean, we'd love to see that. Don't take me wrong. I mean, we'd love to see him do that. But that's the kind of greatness one needs to have, which is so rare, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's been said many times that records are made to be broken, but I think there's some records, they should just be left alone. And I'm very, very happy. And just to underline what we've been discussing about, that Sachin Tendulkar's records will, to my mind, remain unbeatable, unbroken. Because every time, like you said, every time someone it's not even getting close. When they get into that realm of, it's possible based on age, number of test matches or one days that so-and-so country plays. And you're right, there was a time when a narrative was building, and maybe, just maybe, given the fact that how fit he is, and England play the most test matches, and he doesn't sweat because of some freak body condition, Alistair
I
Cook could
remember
actually
that.
get close, you know.
Yeah.
Then he went some 2 years or 18 months, you know, without 100. Every time these talks start, it's
Yeah.
almost like someone is saying, "Rende bhai, we're talking about Sachin here." And again,
Yeah.
Virat Kohli at one point in the one-day game looked on track, but then you go 4 years, 3.5 years without a one-day 100. So there is some strange force, you know, which is keeping Sachin Tendulkar, I believe, rightly way
Yeah.
above everybody else.
Yeah. I don't know what that might be. I think also the personalities are so different, right? Sachin Tendulkar,
Yeah.
non-controversial. Virat Kohli on the other side, whatever he does on the field in terms of, all those celebrations, there are some who like it, who love him for that. Some just think it's unnecessary. So there is that bit as well. His figure is slightly more, it's polarizing, whereas Sachin Tendulkar was loved by one and all. I think the only argument one could have against Sachin Tendulkar is that a lot of times you felt like he never quite took a stand on some real issues surrounding cricket. And I think that's also because he just wanted to keep it limited, his presence limited on the field. I think he just didn't want to. He also realized anything and everything he said would create a controversy. He's a different personality. Okay, we have gone somewhere else. we're talking about the second Test match. So let's also talk about West Indies, guys. Are you expecting, who is Rakeem Cornwall? Do you see him getting wickets? That's the other thing. The difference between Ravichandran, Ashwin, Jadeja was that they were getting wickets. Rakeem Cornwall was troubling Yashasvi Jaiswal and Rohit Sharma, but he just couldn't create those opportunities enough. Jamie, what do you think was the reason, the difference that, that Jadeja and Ashwin find edges inside, outside, and someone like a Rakeem Cornwall on the same pitch was unable to do that?
It just comes down to the awareness of what you need to do, right? I mean, Rakeem Cornwall, yes, he had Rohit, he had Virat, he had Shubman briefly, he had Yashasvi Jaiswal. He had them tied down, right? But look, he's tall, he's got massive fingers, he gets grip on the ball, he really took off pace. So it was tough to face him in those conditions. But is he going to do the same across conditions? No. Is Ashwin going to do the same across conditions? You'd have to say yes. They're just far superior skill bowlers, And there's some talk of Rakeem Cornwall might not play this match because of a chest infection. It will be a massive loss purely because in those conditions, and again, I think they'll be fairly similar. Just the ability to tie things down and not let the match entirely run away. Of course, when you say India beat them in 3 days, they did. The match did escape them. But you just need that sort of Roston Chase type bowler who might not run through you, but at least just keep things tidy. But man to man, Jadeja, Ashwin are leagues ahead of things Cornwall can only dream of doing.
Okay, now if all of you have been wondering what's been happening with some of our players who've been injured, there's a video that surfaced on internet, on Instagram, of KL Rahul. He seems to be fit. He's looking good. He's batting well in the nets. There, you look at that video. What do you think, guys? He's doing everything.
Yeah, I think it's about time. I think he could be in the reckoning for the Asia Cup, potentially. I think we've also seen some clips of Shreyas Iyer, who's also.
I like the way how all these clips are being circulated in the media at the right time. PR agencies are doing their job well.
I mean, the selectors would have full reports, no? It's just for public consumption in terms of the BCCI and the selectors. I'm sure they have full reports into their everyday into their everyday activities, because after rehabilitation and all of this that they're doing it at the NCA. They have to do it under the guidance of the BCCI. So I'm sure the people who need to have the full reports have the full reports. But I mean, the thing with Indian cricket is that public perception is also is also really, really important. You don't, even as a prominent cricketer, you don't want to get lost in the public perception. So like you said, these clips are timely and they are certainly helping somebody like a KL Rahul or a Shreyas Iyer, especially KL Rahul, because public opinion is not in his favor really at the moment, and it's not been so for the last year and a half. So he can try and generate all the goodwill that he can, but when it comes to selection matters, it'll be
work a little bit more on. Work a little bit more on his strike rate, and I think public perception will change.
Probably, but he should be part of the ODI squad once he's fit, because India have played that way for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Well, let's see. This is I don't know what they're going to do for the Asia Cup. We've already discussed how they've taken 2 steps back with what they're trying to do. I hope these guys are at least fit enough, because then you have a full pool to select from, and you give them the right opportunities. But thank you so much, guys. Out of time. Is anyone scoring 100 today, Jamie, in case India bat first? Another 100 for Yashasvi Jaiswal?
Looks like it. One of the openers for sure. They stand the best chance.
All right. With that, time for us to wrap this up. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm eyeing that shirt. I might go buy it. Don't judge me.
Please do.
But that looks good.
Fabulous.
That looks good. That really does look good. But off the field, maybe too many lines for a proper white kit. But thank you, guys. Okay, News9 Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest. That's it from us. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.
He thought he could outlast us. And 1 year later, the evidence is right here in this room.
Who will blink first?
So far from preventing the expansion of NATO, Russian